Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of making your landscape material. In the last one we have created a material and material instance, and we've created different parameters for texture sets, and we have also grouped them together. But in this one we're going to expand this further and create different parameters to control and manipulate our textures and also our UV tiling together, so we can have more control over our material instance. So let's get started. This is where we left off. We have made all the material instances for the texture sockets and we've grouped them together, and this is how it looks for now. But for every texture we want to make sure that we can control the UV tiling. Now to do that we need a texture coordinate node over here. Now if you expand this, you'll see U and V tiling. This is exactly what we need for all of our texture set. But if you check this out, this is not a parameter. You cannot convert this to parameter as well. So the only way to change this UV tiling is to go in this base texture. But we want to make sure that everything is editable in material instance. Therefore, there is a fix. So to do that, let's add a multiply node. Let's drag this and search for multiply, or hit M and click and you'll get a multiply node. But again, this is not a parameter. You cannot convert this as well. So we need a scalar parameter node, or just hold S and click and you'll get this parameter node. Now let's call this a tiling 1. And let's set our default value to 1. And let's change our group to layer 1. Let's plug this in over here. And now this is done, but we need to connect this to respective texture sets. So base color 1, normal 1, and ORD 1. Now, once we have set this, let's save this and check it out, and we'll see this tiling 1 option enabled in the material instance. Now we have to do this for all 3 sets. So let's duplicate it 2 times like this, but make sure you change the name to tiling 2, layer 2, this one tiling 3 to layer 3, and let's connect these to respective textures. So base color 2, normal 2, and ORD 2. This one as well, go to base color 3, normal 3, and ORD 3. Now let's hit apply, save, and then you'll see all the tiling 1, 2, and 3 in their respective groups. Now, are we done? We are definitely not, because we want to be able to control the base color texture, normal texture, roughness texture, and specular for each different layer. So we need different parameters to go over. So for base color, I usually like to either saturate them or desaturate them. So to do that, hold RGB, drag, and let's search for desaturation node. Now, this is not a parameter again, so let's add a scalar parameter node again. Let's call this desat1, and let's change our layer to 1. Leave the default value to 0, therefore it is not being saturated or desaturated at all. And let's plug this into fraction, and we want more control. Sometimes I want to tint the base color of the texture. So to do that, we need a multiply node again. So we'll multiply this base color node, base color, with a color picker. And in Unreal Engine, a color picker is called a constant 3 vector, because it has this color picker where you can pick any color you want. But right now, this is not a parameter as well. Luckily for us, we can right click and convert to parameter. Now we can change this to tint color 1. Let's rename it that and change the group to layer 1. Have we changed the layer group to layer 1 over this one? We have. Now, we have multiplied the tint. We have added the multiply node for the tint to the base color, but right now it is being applied 100%. We cannot turn off, or we cannot adjust how much we want to apply the color. So in order to be able to control that, we're gonna need a a lerp node. So let's search for lerp, and you'll see a linear interpolate node. This is exactly what we need. So let's place it in. Let's actually place the multiply to B and desaturation to A. Therefore, if it's 0, it is not applying any of the tint, and if it's 1, it's applying full tint, and if it's and everything in between. But again, this is not a parameter, so we need another parameter. This we'll call it tint amount. I forgot the 1, so let's add 1 over there, and let's change this group to layer 1. Plug this into alpha, default value to 0, and now we can finally plug this in to layer 1. And let's apply and save this. Let's check it out. We have tint amount and tint color over here. This is great. Now what we can do is we can just duplicate this like this. Plug this into over here. Make sure you change the name of the desaturation to 2 and change it to layer 2. Because if you have the same name, this will get affected by this will get affected by this. So make sure you always change the name. So tint amount 3 and layer 3. Now put this lerp into layer 2. Oh, our tint color as well, don't forget that. Layer 2. Sorry, this tint amount should be number 2 in layer 2. And this one should be layer 2. So make sure that everything is named and grouped properly. So let's double check desat 2, layer 2, tint color 2, layer 2, tint amount 2, layer 2. Now let's select these nodes again. Let's duplicate this once more, and let's plug this base color 3 and lerp into here. Now let's just rename. So desat 3 and layer 3, tint color 3 and layer 3, tint amount 3 and layer 3. And now we have it. So let's save and check it out. Tiling 1, tint amount 1, tint color 1. Nice. Tiling 2, tint amount 2, color 2. Tiling 3, amount 3, color 3. Now we have successfully made an editable base color setup. So now for normal, roughness, and specular, it's going to be quite easy. So in order to do that, for normal, what we want is a multiply node. So let's hold M and click. We have a multiply node over here. Let's plug this in. Have a parameter node as well, and we're going to call it normal strength 1, and we're going to change our default value to 1 and group to layer 1. Just plug it in, plug this into layer 1, and we just need to duplicate this again. Plug this in, plug this in, and our normal strength, we're going to change this to layer 2, name this to normal strength 2. Let's duplicate this again, plug this in, normal strength 3 and layer 3. Now we need to duplicate this again for our roughness. Our roughness is the green channel, so it is this one. So let's drag it over here, and let's name this to roughness 1 and change this to layer 1 again. Now we want to move this socket to here, so control and click, drag this to A, plug this in, duplicate this, control and click, drag it into A, drag this, control D to duplicate, control and click this, drag this to A, plug this in. Now we just need to change the name, so roughness 2, layer 2, and roughness 3, layer 3. Now we just need one more, and we have finally created our image, our landscape texture. It is the specular. Specular is very important because sometimes it will be so bright that it will reflect everything. So what we need here is 3 parameters. So let's call this specular, spec 1. Now let's set our default value to 0.2. Now we're going to duplicate this 3 times, like so. And let's rename this to spec 2 and layer 2. This one to spec 3 to layer 3, and make sure the first one is also set to layer 1. Now we need another landscape layer blend, so let's duplicate this and plug these in over here like that, and plug this into specular. Now this might look complicated, but everything's gonna make sense once we paint or apply the textures. So let's save this and let's double check everything is working nicely. The roughness spec tiling, let's check everything looks good. So now the most complicated part of the lecture is finally over. The next part will be the fun part. But we have the last step, which is to add some textures to our material instance. So before we do that, we need some textures. So go onto the top toolbar over here, click on this little box and plus icon over there, and click on Quixel Bridge. Now here we want to search for a mossy rock, and let's scroll down until we find something that we like. I like this one, therefore I downloaded this one. So if you haven't downloaded yet, you'll have a download button over there. Change this to high quality and download. And we're also going to search for a rock texture, which we're going to be using, which is this one. We'll be using a beach cliff rock, high quality again, and let's download. And finally, we're going to use a mossy rock. We're going to use a ground, dirt texture. I do like leaves being scattered already, which is a nice addition to the texture, so I'm using this one. You can use whatever texture you want. You don't have to completely stick to whatever textures that I'm using. So go with your own taste, or you can follow along strictly as well. And just hit download. Once you have done that, go to local and you'll see all 3 textures being downloaded. So once you've downloaded everything, you can click on this little blue icon over there to export this to Unreal Engine. So let's click on all 3 of them. And once you've done that, you'll see a new folder called Megascans and Surfaces. And in there, you'll see all 3 textures over there. So let's go back into our landscape folder and then open up material instance. Let's make this a bit smaller and longer like this. And let's go back into our surfaces. Now we want our first layer to be the grass layer because it's going to cover a lot of the space. So by default, layer 1 will always be painted all over your landscape. So let's go into our tundra mossy and let's put these in. Right now you cannot put these in because we haven't turned on these yet. So enable these options over there. By the way, I just realized the normal strength 1 and 2 both are in layer 2. So let's go back in and search for normal strength 1. Let's change this to layer 1, apply. And I also realized that I have spelled this wrong. So change this up. Save this, and now it should be fixed. So let's turn these on again. So as for the first layer, we're going to place this base color into the base color, which is the D over there. And D stands for diffuse color. It's the same as base color. N stands for normal, and ORD stands for, well, ORD, ambient occlusion, roughness, and displacement. Now it all makes sense, right? Now as for the second one, we're gonna have a beach cliff. So let's put this in their respective order. And as for the last one, we have the forest ground, normal, and ORD. And let's save this. So you should give yourself a pat in the back because the trickiest part of the whole lecture is over now. And in the next part, we'll make sure to paint in, apply the layer, and we're gonna have some fun with painting the landscape. I think in the next one, we'll be changing up the landscape a little bit because I feel like this landscape is too big for the environment that we're gonna be creating. And with nanite displacement, it's gonna be very heavy. So I'll see you in the next part.